Welcome back. Welcome back. Come on in. The water's fine. Wipe your shoes on the mat. Grab a coaster and an ashtray. Oh, you got to be quicker than that. Welcome back. Welcome back. Nah, H, I don't want no problems. Hey, Euchris. All right, let's zoom in. Partly to see what's going on, partly to keep from falling asleep. So, bulls, baby steps. Get above daily open and tap into those liquidations. Right? You got market makers wind at your back. Call your whale buddies. Chip, that is very on brand for you, brother. I personally appreciate the consistency. I think he's suing them. I don't know if that's going to work anymore. Goes home. Insure. I'm on the final step right now of listing the merch, was getting some of these hero picks taken care of. There's always a chance to leave that CME behind, Crimson, right? I'm sort of betting on the idea that we're leaving this CME behind that's above us. So yeah, there's always a chance that you don't go get it and that sell pressure comes in and sort of takes over. The only reason that I'm sort of aiming for it is because we had a big drop and we haven't had our mean reversion from that drop yet. You got enough liquidations to get there, you know. The big difference between that and shooting for this with no real way to get there right now. Yeah, what's gonna keep miners in the game in the future is fees, not there was a part of last bull market when oracles, I mean when the name is escaping me right now. When ordinals came out, and runes, right? Remember when people were doing the runes and the ordinals on Bitcoin? The miners were getting paid more off of transactions during that time than they were off of actually mining the Bitcoin. And that's why not everybody, there's a big fight inside the Bitcoin maxi world, right? Half of them want to go ordinals, runes. They basically want to turn Bitcoin into like another chain, right? Where you can build things off of it. That's why we have stacks, and we have the diehard Bitcoiners are like, we don't want to build shit on it, right? Bitcoin is what it is. We don't want to turn it into anything else. The problem is that creates a problem for miners, right? Because what's the incentive to keep your miners going and to keep validating if you're not receiving any Bitcoin for it, right? So in my opinion, Bitcoin does have to grow. Bitcoin has to grow to a point where miners can live off of fees for the sustainability of it. And it is, we're seeing it, right? We're still seeing new L2s come out on Bitcoin. I don't have a problem with it. We've always had special Satoshis, right? I don't know if you guys know about rare Satoshis, special Satoshis, elite Satoshis, but Bitcoiners have always paid attention to certain parts, right? Like a special Satoshi is the first Satoshi that's mined at right after the halving, right? The Genesis Satoshi was the first Satoshi ever mined. And yeah, and they're worth more. So what they did is they gave you the ability to look through your Satoshis, see if you have rare ones, and then attach NFT like properties to it and then sell it as a rare Satoshi. These are things that have to happen so that miners can continue to get paid. And they did. Miners made like double what they would have normally during this bull run during that craze. And I'm with it because it worked out. My thesis was so maxis don't rotate, right? Maxis tend to rotate into cash and then back into Bitcoin. So what was cool about stacks and what was cool about some of these L2s and some of these projects in the Bitcoin is that it gave these maxis somewhere to rotate into without feeling like they were playing with alts, because they call all alts shit coins. But you can take some profit on Bitcoin and buy some stacks, right? Because you're still helping the network. Honestly, I think that's where it's going. I think alts built on Bitcoin will end up having more staying power because they'll have the backing of maxis. I think we're going to see hella consolidation. I would say 70% of these L1s are going to end up being L2s underneath ETH or Sol or Bitcoin. We're already seeing it, right? We see it all the time. They start off as L1s. They want to do their own thing. They can't provide the security that they need, right? So they don't get the use case that they think. And then they end up just going and becoming an L2 for a larger L1. Way too many L1s, bro. We don't need this many L1s. Like we really don't, right? It's like during the .com bubble where there was like 30 search engines. Like we're not going to need 30 search engines, right? Google hadn't floated to the top yet. People were still using Ask Jeeves and all of this other shit. But eventually the cream rises to the top. and then locks down, right? Locks down that position, builds a competitive moat around them. And that's what our job is, right? To figure out what's the cream that's going to rise to the top. I would start off accumulating Bitcoin on the lows as much as possible. Accumulate Bitcoin, use that time where all you can afford is Bitcoin. All you can afford is Satoshis to hold. You don't really have a lot of money to play with to lose, but you use that time to learn. Ask most people here, uh their first learning bull market, right? That's where most of the mistakes are made. You're jumping back and forth to alt, trying to make something happen. You're super up, and then you're down, and then you're up, and then you're back down. But if those people would have literally just, I mean, it's, let's say you were here at the beginning of the last bear market, right? Because you're about, I mean, a bull market, because you're about to be here at the beginning of this one. Right? Couple $1,000 at the bottom, or a DCA of a couple $100 a week out of the paycheck. Because you got 3 years of up. Everybody thinks about the money that they're going to put down here, right? But nobody really considers that you've got money coming in for 3 years, right? There's businesses or whatever you're doing. Like, you don't stop really adding to this. There's a point at which it becomes diminishing returns, though, right? Like, if you bought at 15 and 16 and 20 and 30, right up to about like the dead cat bounce, you have no regrets buying anywhere down in these ranges. Now, once you start to get a little higher, then yeah, you slow down on the DCA. But just using the 4-year cycle indicator, right? That's in the Discord for everybody. Right? Just slamming those DCA zones in the past has not been a bad idea. You know, the thing is, if you don't have a lot of money, what you have to have is patience. You have to have a good time horizon. Right? Let's say you couldn't even afford a big. It was 15K down here, right? Let's say you could only afford half a Bitcoin. Right? So you had 7K, and then you got a what? Let's say you got out at 120, right? You bought half a Bitcoin. You didn't do shit. You didn't even catch the top. You didn't get out until like 120 when things started to look nervous, right? Let's say you didn't even wait for the bottom of the bull market. Let's say when this shit dropped down to 59, you just went all in, right? You just turned that half a Bitcoin into a whole Bitcoin. Now, if you're patient, right, and price does what it's supposed to do, then that would be 1.5 Bitcoin. I do think investing in alts is a way to make your money flip, but it has to be up. Look, the base trade is this. The base trade is Bitcoin. Bitcoin isn't always gonna outperform, right? There will be times where ETH is gonna outperform Bitcoin. But if ETH is outperforming Bitcoin, then you'll see it on the ETH BTC chart, right? If Sol is gonna outperform Bitcoin, then you see it outperforming on the Sol BTC chart, right? That's when you take some of that money, not all of it. So when you take some of it, and then you put it into projects that are outperforming. And the second that they stop outperforming, that money comes back into that main trade, right? So that's a way where you can start with half a Bitcoin and then take some out, go into like a Sol trade, a SUI trade. And then when you put it back in, now you've got 3/4 of a Bitcoin, right? It's possible to trade yourself up to a full Bitcoin before you even reach the top. And then, like I said, you know, look at somebody who just bought one. Somebody who bought one Bitcoin for 15 and got out with 120, bought 2 Bitcoin on this dip if they wanted to and just walk away. Screw the bottom. We're not at the bottom yet. Who cares? I just turned half a Bitcoin into 2 Bitcoin. I just turned 1 Bitcoin into 2 Bitcoin. Now, the difference is if it comes down to 40, right, that 120 becomes 4 Bitcoin. The compound nature. Yeah, I'm sorry. You're right. 3 Bitcoin. The compound nature of it is what you can't. People always understand compounding when they look backwards. When I do this, they're like, oh, yeah, damn. But in the moment, it never seems sexy at all, you know? It's the same during drops, bro. The amount of people that hold their alts all the way to the bottom because they didn't catch the top and they don't want to take the loss is insane to me, bro. It's a little experiment. If you've got a bag of alts, just use one you don't care about, just to experiment, right? What I want you to do is forget about the fiat value altogether. If your exchange lets you switch it off of fiat value, switch it off of fiat value. And then what I want you to do is keep a pen and a paper next to you. And the next time that that alt moves up and it looks like it's going to come down, I want you to pick a certain amount. It's up to you, whatever you want to pick, right? Pick a certain amount and sell it. And then on the piece of paper, write the number that you sold and the price that you sold it at. Right? No, it sounds stupid, but trust me, just do it. Then as price starts coming down, you don't have to wait for the bottom. Whenever you feel like it, as long as you're underneath the price that you sold at, right, you can go ahead and buy back. Now, remember, at this point before you sold anything, you're negative 10K and you're freaking out, right? Because if you sell, you're going to realize that negative 10K or whatever it is. When you sell that and you buy back, I want you to write down how many coins you bought back, right? You sold 100. I want you to write how many coins you managed to buy back. And then the next time you pump up, I want you to do the same thing, right? Eventually what's going to happen is you're going to look at that piece of paper and you're going to say, oh shit, I'm still down negative 10K, right? I still don't have, but I just turned my 100 coins into 400 coins, right? Which means I only have to go up 1/4 of the way that I needed to break even. Or that's one, right? That's if you just love the coin and you're like, you're going to pry this thing out of my cold dead hands. I know it's going up. Right? That's one way. The other way to do it is this. Sell your 100 coins. Write down where you sold it. Right? When price comes down and you decide you want to buy again, just buy 100 coins. Now you haven't lost anything, right? You're still down negative 10K. You still have 100 coins, but now magically there's money in your account. And then you do it again, right? Goes down again. You buy your 100 coins and you keep the extra. And what you're doing is you're taking a losing trade, right? One that you weren't able to get out of, one that you've already decided you're going to hold to the bottom anyways, but you're pulling fiat value out of it that you can then put into something else, or that you can use to slam that coin at the bottom, right? If you're really like in love with it. But just holding it and becoming paralyzed and just watching it go down, like, I want you to understand, when you're holding a bag of coins, it's not your money's not gone. Your money's there. It's a bag of money that can still be deployed, that can still be used. But you got to get over the fear. Damn right, Punisher. Hell yeah. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people did, bro. A lot of people did. And I get it. Seeing that negative fiat value is like a killer, bro. And then what also messes people up is that stupid ass saying, uh, you don't lose unless you sell. Bro, what? People just repeat that shit too. No, you can 1000% lose without selling. 1000%. There's nothing wrong with that, true. But my suggestion would be that money that you make trading, at least a percentage of that should go into the oh shit bag. We never know how the world's gonna end up. You know what I mean? Like, and day trading is fun, right? But it's a hustle. And if you don't ever go long term, then that means that you're just gonna hustle, right? You're just gonna hustle forever. Yeah, the bag is your physical, bro. The bag is what you need to grow. The trading is your income, right? That's what you use to grow it. But it doesn't have to be your main focus, right? Some people are way better at short-term scalps and snipes, and then that long-term bag is just a side thing that takes care of itself, you know? And then some people's main focus is compounding that long-term bag, and they only go into those short trades to bring that money back. I don't think either side is wrong, as long as you're focusing on that bag. Because the one thing we know is that bear market after bear market, Bitcoin's not getting any cheaper. We haven't had a bear market yet where we got to buy Bitcoin for the same price that we got to buy it during the last. So I don't expect that to change. So if accumulating Bitcoin is a plan that you have in your head, just remember that every 4 years it becomes more difficult. Tether FUD is the epitome. Tether FUD is the epitome of FUD, bro. That's like high level FUD. You get it every single bull market too. But that's like when there's nothing else and they can't find anything else, they slap you with the tether FUD. Yeah. I'm never in the bull market selling all of my Bitcoin to buy back. I'm always compounding percentages of the bag because I remember very clearly all the stupid shit I've ever done in my life, and it was the same brain that I'm using to trade with that made those dumbass decisions. So I tend to hedge against myself a little bit just in case. I'll be too careful. But I legit do that sin while I'm trading. And I have an idea in my head and I'm 1000% sure of it. I start thinking about all the stupid shit in my life that I've been 1000% sure of. And then I dial it back a little bit. I know for a fact that hungry me can't trade, angry me can't trade. Like they're not allowed to touch. Euphoric me, I've gotten under control. But if I'm upset or I'm angry, I gotta cut myself off. Yeah, you got to, bro. You gotta hedge against yourself. And that means everything, bro. Brain hacks. You gotta figure out what makes you tick. Some people like turning their candles to black and white, right? Because the red and green triggers them. Who, me? Nah, I'm not married. Dodged that bullet a long time ago. That's good, DJ. Hell yeah. Walk some of that euphoria off. Give me 1 second, y'all. I'll be right back. All right, I'm back, y'all. The wrong wife, yeah. Yeah. The right woman, they'll make everything easier. Finding the right woman that understands the amount of time that we got to be at the screen, though, and how BTC doesn't care if it's date night, you know? Like, that's important. Like, I've legit been at dinner and had to leave, you know? It takes the right woman to understand that. Not only understand it, but believe it. 2 or 3 of those quick exits, and you're definitely screwing somebody else, you know? But yeah, the right partner is a must, yo. It will make an already difficult job even more difficult. Yeah. It's like that shit where your mom used to be like, just pause the game. Like, you can't pause the game. It's live. I can't pause 75 people in a Call of Duty lobby, ma. You mean pause the game? Yeah, that's good. Getting them involved is good, bro. Getting them involved, I think, is important. Just like anything, whatever you're into, if you've got a hobby or something you love to do, probably a good idea to find a girl that at least has some interest. Yeah, I think some of the certainty that people were feeling a week or two ago is starting to go by the wayside. Right? Nah, I'm not married. I was when I was younger, though. First bull market's always shit, bro. The trick is to get it out of the way with as little damage as possible so you have enough to compound into your second bull market. Ladies, cyber wives, if you're listening, I'm 1000% kidding. You're the one. I'm not talking about you, just all the other ones. It's never too late. With gift of gab for a reason. What do you mean? I'm the perfect person. I already got all that out of the way. I learned all my lessons. I'm a changed man. Hey, first of all, it was not me that screwed shit up. First of all, let's get that clear. And to be honest, I'm a Brooklyn boy. I can take some getting used to. I don't know why market makers pump faking. Just do it. I get it. I know you don't want to pay for it, but you got to give people something. Give people something to hold on to. Super chat. It's the best super chat ever. Damn right. You talking about the cloud around it, Euchris? It's just a deviation that comes on it. By the end of the week, the Cypher indicator will be out. This one. So y'all will have all of that, plus the little range detector. Nah, that one's separate. I tried to mix it. What I wanted to do is have the surf indicator just be a toggle that you can turn on and off. Which is why I stripped the original trader's reality indicator so I can make space for it. But I think the gradients made it too big. I got Claude working on it. If Claude can rewrite a couple of the scripts without screwing up the data, then I might be able to squeeze both of them into the same indicator. That's what I'm trying to figure out now. If not, it's just gonna live as like a second indicator. I want to do as much as I can in one because I know if people don't have premium, they can't have tons of indicators. Nah, they're helping it. They're helping it. The only chance, in my opinion, that only reason I'm even long, aside from that CME gap, is the fact that there's so many shorts here. It means market maker only has to pay for like a tenth of the trip, if that. Yeah, as long as it's not going to mess up the indicator, I'll do it. But there are times where you shove too much into one script and it starts to affect stuff. Yeah, it's also an easier way to dump. Right, price comes down here, and there's nobody at this point. Nobody at this point buying. Right, we've already come down. Everybody's shook. Nobody's buying for the most part. If nobody's buying, that means you can't sell. Right, if there's whales that are here that still have coins they want to sell, they can't sell without slippage if there's nobody buying. So what do? Right, let's mix all the whales together into one whale. And let's say they've got 10 billion that they want to sell off. Right? But if they slam 10 billion on market right here, then they'll probably end up getting filled somewhere around here. Right? As price slips the book. So what do you need so that you don't have slippage? Right? If you're a whale with massive bags, what are you looking for so that price won't slip the book? Well, you're looking for buyers, right? You need a big batch of buyers. And this right here is just a massive batch of people who are forced to buy to cover when price hits. Right? So as a whale, if I can use 1 billion, just for round numbers, wouldn't take that much. If I could use 1 billion to push price up into these liquidations, then I can sell my 9 billion here, or I can sell all 10 billion, right, here to these guys and get minimal slippage on it. So those pools are great places for whales to dump their bags into because there's so many forced buyers there. That's when it's important, I think, to understand and to get out of that, like, that newbie sort of mentality that whales just want to wreck you. Market maker just wants you to suffer. No, they don't. If they did, they would just slam on market right here and send this shit to 60. What they want is to make money. You're just in the way. Right? If you really wanted max pain, if exchanges really wanted to just have you, they want your kids to starve, well, then they would just keep slamming this shit through a dead order book and wreck everybody. Right? Whales could easily make this shit look nasty, but they've got coins they have to get rid of, and they would prefer to get rid of them at higher prices. Right? That's how it works. You buy low, you sell high. Now, the problem is when you get whales that are trying to wreck each other. That's a thing. These whales don't care about your $10,000, $20,000, $50,000, $100,000 portfolio, bro. They don't. It's insignificant to them, the money that they're playing with. But another whale with 10 billion that isn't playing the game, you know what I mean? Another whale that all the whales are lined up to stop price to push up so that they can sell. And here comes this whale selling on market. Just a newbie whale, right? New money, doesn't know how the game is played. They will stop what they're doing and target that whale and get him out of there because he's screwing it up for everybody. You remember James Wynn? Remember, like the 2 month attack on James Wynn? That's why they were on him, because he was doing stupid shit. He was doing stupid shit with too much money publicly on Hyperliquid, and it was costing all the other whales money. So what they do, they doxed his ass, put a target on him, and we watched just a hardcore whale war for at least 2-3 months as they systematically took him out. And now you don't even hear his name anymore, right? Like, yeah, bro. He was just moving crazy. Like, he's making his exits obvious. He was trying to slam all out on positions. So that's why they started wrecking him, right? They wouldn't let him get to his TP because they knew when he got to his TP, he was going to do some dumb shit. And that affects everybody else's bag. So they slowly bled him out. Yeah, posting it on Twitter. It's it's not just him. If you've noticed, all the attacks on whales have been on hyperliquid whales. And they've been on hyperliquid whales because hyperliquid is fully transparent. Right? So if you're gonna be a whale and you're gonna trade on hyperliquid, then you gotta play the game. You can't sit massive block orders in one spot. You've got to pull icebergs. You've got to play the game, or they're gonna get you out of the way. I never want to be that big. Keep me right under that level where other whales care, you know? Yeah, and that's one of the reasons Aster did so well because of their dark pools. Have you ever watched one of Crypto Face's lives when he gets targeted and he gets pissed? You gonna come at me? You're gonna come at me? You better come harder than that. Like, bro, you're being so loud. Yes, they're gonna come at you. What do you mean? You publicly broadcasting multi-million-dollar positions, and then you're a force multiplier on top of it, right? For the people that are copy trading you. So you're pushing way more money than what you're actually pushing. And you're cocky. That all that takes is a board whale at that point. A board whale that wants to have some lulls. My bad, I didn't put the tape back on. Yeah, slap that like button, y'all. There's 150 of us in here and only 41 likes. YouTube sees that and they say that's a lower high. This stream is downtrending. And start opening them shorts on the live. Let's get up to double top territory if we can. Exactly, Sergio. Bearish div on the like. And all these streamers are getting busted for botting, bro. I don't want to look like we're botting. We need to get those likes up to at least look like there's some human activity. That shit was funny. Speed did that Caribbean tour in DR, and that influencer that was his guide botted the stream up to like 1.3 million. He got all hyped because he thought he broke the record, and then YouTube called him like, yeah, buddy, you're with. Might want to check him. I appreciate y'all. One of the good things and bad things about what YouTube is doing now is that they're using AI to monitor and to actually like decide what goes where in the algorithm, where before it used to be like human review teams. So the numbers matter a lot more now than they used to. AI has been automatically banning some channels too, crypto channels, which is kind of concerning. But I was talking about it with Claude, and we looked at all the channels that have been banned to try to find what they had in common, and what they had in common was that they were copy trading, like they were doing signals live, and they would have price points on their title, like, you know, BTC to 78K today. So I'm slowly trying to figure out what YouTube's AI is sort of trained on to pick up on, right? Because YouTube's AI has no feelings. That shit'll flag you and move on to the next. It's automatic. So we gotta be careful. Before it was human teams, right? So like maybe you had a price point in your thing, but a human could come in and read it and say, oh, well, they're not saying it's going there. They're saying that's the resistance or that's the support or something like that. Where AI might just see the price point and then flag you into a certain category. Yeah, no signals, no. That's why we keep it. I mean, we've always been educational. Ever since the start of the channel, it's always been educational. And YouTube doesn't have an issue with that, right? It's technical analysis, and you're teaching people about macroeconomics and technical analysis, but there's no promise of gains or, you know. Yeah, I saw it. I haven't watched it yet. I've heard the name, but I can't put a face to it. Appreciate that, Monkey. I mean, to be fair, you know, like YouTube, close your ears for a second. Um, Nothing's forever. Right? We don't own these platforms. So that's why I think that Discord is so important. And I know we had to get rid of the green tags, but this week I'm gonna open the Telegram. The Telegram's gonna be free for everybody, no charge, nothing. I'll put stuff in there too, you know. But the Telegram is gonna be for just so we don't ever lose track of each other. Anything was to happen, God forbid, with YouTube, and we had to move somewhere else, right? Like an email list, basically, without me having to have your email, because the cypherpunk in me won't let me collect emails. Now I warn you, there will be no mods over there. Do not click on anything in Telegram. It's literally just a place to park your name, you know? Um, yeah, because Telegram's gonna get wild, and this Telegram is there's so many scammers in Telegram, yo. Like honestly, be very careful on Telegram. Be very careful on WhatsApp. Does Telegram give you? I'm not gonna call none of y'all. I don't think nah, when you join on Telegram, it's your name, right? It's connected to your number, but your number doesn't show to people. I hardly ever use it. I mean, there might be some of y'all that spend a lot of time on Telegram anyways. You know, maybe I'll make some of y'all mods and you guys can get rid of scammers and stuff like that. But for the most part, it's gonna be unmoderated, wild, wild west. Basically YouTube chat with a home. Yeah, yeah, that's what I'm saying. The only reason, just for anybody that's coming late, the only reason I'm even talking about Telegram is I want a free spot that everybody can join, just so that we have everybody in one place in case anything ever happens to the platform, or you know, gotta open the Instagram for that too. Gotta open a gotta get the X going. So we'll have places where we were already part of another group that I wasn't the owner of, that sort of fell apart, and we lost contact with a lot of people. And it's taken us a year to find everybody again through YouTube, because YouTube doesn't have a way where you can like contact people directly, right? So it's a good idea to have an outside source. Hell no. Imagine. That's the long con, right? In 5 years, crypto Cypher cold wallet. It's crazy work. All your coins belong to me. It's so bad, bro. I hate that we even thought about it, because that means that somewhere it's gonna happen to somebody. Some group somewhere is gonna pull a fast one. Imagine. No, but I will tell you one thing that I've been thinking about for a really long time. Um, and I'm really far away from this. It's just letting you know because it's been an idea in my head. Once you get to a certain point, like you start to get access to pre-sale stuff and like offers that you really need like a large amount of money to take advantage of. Um, I've always thought that it'd be cool if there's a way that you could split that up, right? And like give people that aren't, accredited investors, or uh, what Coinbase calls sophisticated traders. By the way, sophisticated trader is 10 mil plus for Coinbase. If you don't have 10 million in your trading account, Coinbase doesn't consider you sophisticated. I don't know what the name is for under, but I know you're not sophisticated in their eyes. but it does get easier, and you get offers for stuff that everybody doesn't get. And there's got to be a way, right? Like in a way, like not. And some DAOs have tried it. Um, there's one that's running that's all right, and I can't really. But just logistically, it sounds like a nightmare. Some of these deep people don't understand, right? Because they don't understand how important DeFi is. Some of these yields that you can get in DeFi, right? Some of these deals you can get in DeFi. Some of these collateral loans that you can get in DeFi with super low interest. This sort of thing's been available for a long time. It just hasn't been available to us, right? Like a lot of this stuff is hid behind accredited investor status, and I don't remember. I don't even remember what it is right now. I care so little about it that I don't remember where the hell the line is. But I know that you have to have a certain amount, and I believe it's 5 mil liquid, meaning not in your investments. Um, but there's tons of shit, bro. Like these loans, these institutional loans that Michael Saylor's getting, right? That's because he's in the fund or he's in the index, right? So once you're in the index, you get offered these loans. So imagine getting offered a loan where it's less than 1% interest on a 5 year float to trade on an asset that gives you 70% year over year, risk adjusted, and runs on a 4 year cycle. So, like, there has to be a way for somebody that has access to those loans to package it to where people that don't have access have access. Does that make sense? Right? Or people that were able to invest in Anthropic 2 months ago, right? Where they get an allotment where you can invest this much because you have this much. To be able to then get that, split it up, and then offer it to people that can't. But that's like I said, that's what I would want to. That's what I would want to do at the end, finally, right? Like once the bag has been secured. Yeah, there's a lot of risk. There's obviously a lot of risk. That type of thing comes down to curation, right? You can't offer people everything that comes out because a lot of it is, bullshit. VCs will tell you they'll invest in like 50 companies and five of them will do well, and then the five make up for the 45 that flopped. But they have the money to be able to do that, right? If you're offering shit like that to people with less amount of money, then you have to be, I think, more. You have to be more strict about how you curate what comes into the fund. That's the good thing about crypto, right? That there's a way to do it where it really is trustless. If it's done by smart contract, which is good, right? Because that means you can build something that outlasts you. Because yeah, okay, you build something and you're the good guy. You'll never shit on people, cool. And then you die, and then what? Like, who takes over next? How does he move? How does he operate? But smart contract is forever, right? It just is what it is. It's code. It's trustless. It depends. I mean, breakout traders, typically the successful breakout traders I know are very like quick. It's like algorithmic, high frequency. You're taking advantage of that volatile push, right? The break of a support, the break of a resistance on really high leverage and getting out very quick and it's getting hits over and over like that. Not a trading style for me at all. Yeah, it's not. That's why I said, like, you can train a bot to do that, right? And then have the bot, as long as you have a quantitative edge, then you know you can just run the bot and it'll win more than it loses. But for a human to do it, just remember, I mean, at this point, we're probably trading against like 70% bots. So the lower time frame you trade, the higher percentage of bots you're trading against. When we go on the 15-second, we're screwing around and we're trading against bots on the 15-second. Yeah, yeah. That's the thing, stress level, right? You got to take that into consideration. It's not just about ROI. It's about what type of person are you at the end of the day. We were talking about that earlier, correct? I mean, I like it, and I think it's the future for Bitcoin because it's the only way that Bitcoin miners are going to be incentivized to keep mining or to keep verifying nodes. We were talking about how during the ordinal craze and the runes, miners made more money off of fees than they did off of the Bitcoin they mined. So alt based, I mean, Bitcoin based alts and L1s are going to be important. L2s, L3s, even maybe are going to be important because that's how miners are going to eat. You need to get those fees coming in. And the problem is that the fees are no longer coming in from microtransactions. The one thing I can tell you that failed, that Bitcoin has failed at, that Satoshi's probably rolling over in his grave, is that it's too expensive for microtransactions now. Like you can't send somebody 50 cents across the world if you needed to, $1.50, $3 in Bitcoin, which in their currency might be tons, right? But the fee structure, the gas fees have gotten so high that it's taken microtransactions off of, which is it doesn't even matter because stables were always going to take microtransactions away. People will always rather just send stables for peer-to-peer money send. So I think store of value is a much stronger use case for Bitcoin anyways than transactions. I don't want anybody buying their Taco Bell with Bitcoin. The ideal setup, in my opinion, is the Bitcoin bag that takes your wealth into the future and income from a job or a business that you use to spend on shit. Right. Then all of that money that comes from whatever business or whatever job you have is just expendable capital. Right. That's the money you live on. And then you use your Bitcoin to buy the big shit you need to buy. Lightning Network is interesting, but it's just not cheap enough. And it's not, I don't know. It didn't hit the way it was supposed to. I remember when Jack got on stage and did that presentation for Lightning. There was so much buzz in Bitcoin at that time. But that's how wealth operates. That's how rich people move their money. Rich people use the money that they use, the money that they sweat for is used to buy assets. The assets then create a yield. The yield is what they live off of. So once you get to that point, then you can flip it, right? But the trick is to never spend the money that you sweat for. Like that money's meant to make money, to keep making money. That money that money makes, then you can use for whatever you want. Yeah, if I collateralize my Bitcoin, if I sell $1 million worth of Bitcoin, I'm going to get hit with a 35, 40%. If I collateralize $1 million worth of Bitcoin, I just got the same amount of money, but it's debt. It's not income. So there's no capital gains tax. And then you do it again and you do it again. They call it BBD, buy, borrow, die. Buy assets, borrow against them, and then die. I don't know. We're moving sideways. Remember, as long as we don't come down underneath our 3-day up is still valid. But our 3-day up could very well be consolidation. You know, all it means is that at the end of those 3 days, we won't be underneath. But I do think they're going to sweep. We're just waiting for the money. We're building liquidity. Look at all of this. Remember earlier when we were here and I said, we just need a whale to come in, a little baby whale to push past this black area? Well, it's not black anymore, right? That's filled in with people who took shorts while we've been sitting here. So now it takes even less money, right? Soon it'll sneeze and go. The only thing that can stop it, these guys. Watch these guys. Because if these guys do something stupid and get aggressive and this starts piling up, then they'll sweep it. Right? Sentiment is down right now. So down moves are cheaper. You're building this liquidity because you have to fight against sentiment. If this gets thick to where it looks, you know, like a plate of food for market maker, it'd be too easy to go get it. So you got to watch them. Yeah, 200 EMA has been an issue this whole time. But that's why I think they're waiting until the liquidity is built up. A short squeeze is exactly what you need to break something like an EMA. And you see what I talk about when I say good market participants and bad market participants. Please explain to me why you would have $1 million plus 100x liquidation between price and the 200 EMA. Like, there's no good reason for that. To be fair to them, when they took the trade, they were still underneath the 200. So it's not like, you know, I'm not being a dick for no reason. These guys are degenerates. And this is exactly the type of whale activity that these whales will target and get them out of there if they have to. On a small scale, this isn't enough, but it's what we were talking about, right? If this guy, just imagine this guy being James Wynn, and these are all the guys that are defending their shorts. And the only reason price comes up to get them is because James Wynn threw $50 billion between price and the 200. Like, yeah, we got to get this guy out of here. But this is not that type of money. James Wynn is just a nameplate. There's a million of them, right? It's just big money that's dumb money. And by dumb money, I mean like they don't play the established big money game. So they end up stepping on whales' toes, drawing attention to themselves. Yeah. It's like the drunk guy. You ever been playing poker and you got that drunk guy that sits down and then everybody at the table looks at each other and like you don't even say anything, but in the eyes you can see that you've all just made a deal to get this guy the hell out of here before he screws the game up. Nothing worse than a drunk whale at the table, bro. There's no telling what the hell he's gonna do. Bro, I've been there. I've been at that table. Middle of a deep ass game, tons of money on the table. Here comes this guy. And he's just calling everything. And you just look at the other players and you're like, yeah, let's get this guy the hell out of here. Easy money. I don't know. It depends on what happens in the port. And from what I saw yesterday, it didn't look good. They're not talking about it yet, but there was fast boats going into the interior of the strait. And for me, that only means one thing. That means the Iranians are calling on the Houthis, and the Houthis are about to start going into those ships that are parked and causing some issues. Yeah, and it's just less about the chart for me. Like we can look at the chart and we can find patterns and all that, and then something blows up tomorrow, or a peace talk, or you know what I mean? That was a brilliant idea, by the way. The Iranians starting that insurance was a brilliant idea because stopping ships and threatening to blow them up if they don't pay your toll is criminal. It's a war crime, right? The world sees that as a war crime. But offering insurance to make sure nothing happens to your, just in case something happens to your tanker. Think about how crazy this is. Buy your insurance from us, and if we do anything to your ship, we'll pay for it. Nobody else is blowing anything else. Like nobody else is blowing shit up. So basically, it's the same thing. If you pay us, your ship will get through. If you don't pay us, oof, I don't know. It's crazy out there. Old school, bro. Yeah, old school New York style. Hey, who's the owner? You the owner? Yeah, I'm offering broken window protection. Well, we haven't had any broken windows. Okay, thanks for the talk. Later on that night, crash. First thing in the morning. Hey, you the owner? I'm offering broken window protection. But it looks cleaner though, right? There's plausible deniability there. Nah, we're just offering insurance. It's just crazy out there. That's why I say that I think they're going to employ the Houthis. Because if the Houthis do something, even though we understand that it's basically Iran, it's not Iran, right? So now I can sell insurance to protect you from the Houthis because they're out there bugging. I can't control them. Like, we're fighting a war with the US. I got my hands full. But if they happen to do anything to your ship, we got you. I don't know. I know the movie's going to be, whenever this movie comes out, I'm there, depending on who makes it. But yeah, buy, borrow, die. And buy, borrow, die isn't something that is only for rich people. But you kind of need DeFi for that because the banks aren't going to help you unless you're rich, which is why I think it's so amazing about what we're doing because you open up these opportunities for people. Yeah, I saw that. I saw that. I also saw that the first U.S. ship was attacked. The first tanker that was flying a U.S. flag was attacked while it was docked off of Bahrain or something. Bro, I don't even want it to be like I want the movie, but I don't want the movie to be like real US and Iran, right? I want it to be fictional countries, but we all know it's about this war so that they can actually tell the truth. That's what I want. We're never going to get the truth if it's a historical thing. Yeah, 100%. It's exactly what it is. Why do you think they haven't hit them super hard as far as like civilian infrastructure and stuff like that? Like they're still trying to play the good guy. Mm, that's funny. They're probably exactly the same that the toll was. If I had to guess, I'm gonna say it's not too far off what the toll was. Bro, think about what an amazing job, what an amazing business that is. You get to provide insurance that you're never gonna ever have to pay off because all you have to do is not attack the ship. It's just free money. Plot twist: the U.S. starts to sink tankers that have Iranian insurance to try to bleed them dry, or they stop them at that. They stop them at that blockade. Right? Imagine. This is the Iranian line right here. Right? The Iranians took the most narrow part of the strait. This is where all the attacks are happening in real time, right? You have to go through there. There's no way to get through. So the only way you're going to get through without getting attacked is if you have Iranian insurance, right? But then on your way out, on your way out, you run into this, the US blockade. So what happens then? If the US, if you got your Iranian insurance and the US stops your ship, like what if we just tell them, well, you got Iranian insurance? All right, tell them to come get you then. Or if we, what if we set the toll? And now they got to pay Iranian insurance, and we want our $2 million in Bitcoin for supporting the enemy. I'm glad all that shit is above my pay grade, bro. I would not want to make those decisions. I'm good watching it from afar. What we're doing right now is what I like to call killing black swans. Right? Black swans are unpredictable events. So the deeper we can go into these sort of thought experiments, the more black swans we can kill. The reason it's genius though is because nobody else is providing insurance. Those ships that are stuck on that side, on this side of the strait, they can't get the insurance to go through the strait. Right? Nobody's providing insurance right now to go through the strait. And if you don't have insurance, you can't, you're not, your company's not going to move the ship. So the irony of having Iran be the only insurance provider, the US is trying to do it too, though. We talked about it. We talked about providing insurance. First real sign of weakness here. Let's see if we find any volume on the way down. You want to see volume increasing as price drops. If price is dropping on low volume, that means it's not finding any buyers on the way down, which is currently what we're doing right now. Right? Think of the logic of it. Price is coming down and people are buying the dip, then you'll see volume going up as price is coming down. Price is coming down and there's no volume, that means it's not finding any buyers. Starting to see a little bit now. Let me get rid of these so we can see the volume. Let's go down lower time frames. There we go. Let's see. Gap down. Yep, slipped the book on Kia. How much was that sell? Oh, relax, buddy. Damn, 2 Bitcoin did that? 4 Bitcoin? One of our walls was spoofed. We're still looking at 582, 1.11, so like 2.5K sitting there. Told you as soon as I went to sleep, price would do something. The story of my life. The bids are going up. About 59 to 38. You got a lot of Bitcoin to absorb here to the bottom. Look at this. All the way up to like 7,668. 10, 20, 40, 70, 80, 30, probably like 150, 175. And watch it get absorbed.
Yo.
Yo.
So, being that it's early in the week and they just did this whole rebalancing of the books, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think it's more likely that they would be likely to break the 3-day up to go and just scoop that money up to, have more on their books? Or, I mean,
There's enough money to
yeah.
the top side. Like they could just go grab CME and not break their swing, right? That money that was created. So the reason for the 3-day up is because of all the liquidity that's created on the way down, right? So they have to harvest this eventually. Right. So that false move down takes all of that liquidity that's underneath. But the second part of the rebalancing, right, is clearing those shorts. So at this point, once they would take those shorts, then their books would be clear. Then they'd be looking to go right into the setup for the weekend trap again, right? Come up here, and then Thursday you'd have a reversal. You'd have your trap short, trap long, and that's a setup again, right? All the liquidity basically at that point is gone. Whatever they decide, trap long, trap short. I think it'll be trap short because of the longs that'll be underneath if we make that run, right? So trap short, trap long, weekend trap, and then you start to set all of this up again, right? Above and below the trap. So this is the second half. That's why I say that if we break this, then whales are in selling mode, right? I don't see a situation where we go down and we break that 3-day swing and it be market makers doing.
Yeah, I was trying to get a feel for like the importance. I always hear, talking about spoofed orders, trying to get
Mhm.
big money to have market maker go in their direction. So, I'm trying to get an idea of importance or, like what, again, more important, keeping the 3-day up. I mean, I don't know how many people are really following that and how much of a sentiment break it would be to just whip down. And, because again, I like, even
Oh,
last night I made
it,
a
it
mention
doesn't.
of how,
Most people are completely unaware of 3-day up. Like for us, it's not. It's not like other things where people trading towards it help the move. It's just a market maker motivation. If this goes down and breaks, the sentiment will be bad because we broke support, but it won't be like, oh, the 3-day up was canceled and then retail starts to panic. They're not really even aware for the most part. But what it tells us is that market makers not in control, right? The one sign of market maker, not two signs of market maker not being in control during this weekly drop, right? Of weakness, not that they're not in control, but two signs of weakness. One, the inability to trap shorts further away. And two, the inability to keep us inside of the trap. Like we broke early Saturday. So, okay, well, maybe this is the trap short then. Well, then either way, the inability to get back into the weekend trap is also weakness. So we're seeing some weakness. The question is, does it carry on into the next section of the rotation? It didn't stop the trap, the Monday move, right? So far, we've got that low on Monday the way we were supposed to. That played out fine. Market maker showed significant amount of control here. But now what, right? So it's like an active fight, like battles. There's a war. This was the first battle. The false move down was the second battle. Now the 3-day up is the third battle. And then we'll battle again for midweek reversal, and we'll battle again for for our Friday traps.
I've just noticed higher time frame, like you're on the 15, right? Because whatever, I have the Leviathan liquidations like you got, and if you were to look at it on the 1 minute, it almost looks like it's even shorts to longs.
Yeah.
But by seeing on the 15, you can see,
Yeah.
it's grossly heavier on one side.
Yeah. But that's what I was saying, that the short time frame movement is going to be dictated by, remember I said like these guys are the only ones that could screw it up. Like that move up, we were so close to those shorts. Like this group is the only group that could screw it up. And it doesn't look like a lot here. But like you said, when you go down to like smaller time frames.
Yeah, that was definitely something that I was falling for in the past because so even if you go to the 1 minute, it's almost you can barely tell. But yeah, it was just something that was throwing me off on sentiment or whatever motivation.
Yeah. So you're on the 1 minute time frame, right? So the decisions based on this 1 minute are gonna vary depending on your liquidations. But this is completely stacked. So if you're even, right, let's say it's 50-50, then what breaks the tie, right? What usually breaks the tie is sentiment. If the sentiment is bullish, it'll go up. If sentiment is bearish, it'll go down. Because everything else being equal, it makes a cheaper move, right? You don't have to pay for red candles that are based on sentiment if you're a market maker. They pay for themselves. But you have to pay double for green candles if the sentiment is bad. Make any sense?
Yeah, and we've been painting bearish sentiment since before the weekend trap, but since then we've been weak.
Yeah.
And then we had this weak W,
Yep. Double bottom at best.
Yeah. I had a feeling like I was whatever. I was gonna say there was some times in the past where it kind of faded to one side when there was like motivation above. So I kind of misread it originally, the weekend trap, being that there was all the vectors above and how we like faded, to the downside and like sat there almost like they were just building liquidations to rip up. So I thought we were gonna kind of get a a run up in the whatever. I was misreading the trap wrong, and whatever. I noticed the difference, but yeah, again, still just trying to get a better idea of reading the sentiment and being able to trade off of it or have more conviction in taking trades
Yeah.
in this direction or whatever from the information.
Yeah, I hear you, Darren. I was telling the guys earlier, like this could, don't forget that the 3-day up could very well be a consolidation. But our invalidation is right there, so we'll know. My stop is right underneath invalidation. This for me was market maker recovery to CME play. If that invalidates, then I'm more than happy to swing at a fallen knife deeper. But if you've learned anything about ranges, it's the support is support until it's not, and resistance is resistance until it's not.
Also, we have higher time frame. We have that higher time frame M, right, which is the measure move is 75. So
Yeah.
it's almost like we're waiting to fill that. I mean, again, I don't know. This is just me brainstorming,
No,
hoping
I
that
mean
we can.
we haven't completely hit the bull flag measured move either, right? Which is our target
Yeah,
4.
I know that.
And then our M pattern is target 5. But
Which 75 is a pretty big number.
yeah, what I was hoping for was a move up clear CME, put in a lower high, right? And then this would just be another part of the rollover.
Yeah, and that would also be like the breakout and retest of that M.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was hoping to play that too.
My shorts are doing just fine, Duff. Appreciate your concern, though.
If you I know you went over Sui a little last night.
Yeah.
Can you give me your opinion on sentiment on that? Because I did some higher whatever on the 1 hour. There's a W that can bring us up to whatever my target one, and then that's like the 5 minute. Well, there's a 5 minute W, a 15-minute W, and then a 4 hour W. And the last one, I don't think is going to play out, which would be kind of like we would be going for a lower high. What I would think if you know on the 4 hour time frame.
Yeah.
But yeah, just your opinion on it.
Got a really
Would be
decent
appreciated.
hit off of you got a really decent hit off the top of the range.
Which is
Which
also the golden pocket.
yeah, which is good. But yeah, what I was looking at yesterday was the idea of maybe ping ponging around in this range until Bitcoin decides. But that was under the assumption that Bitcoin makes a move up, right? If Bitcoin rolls over and doesn't take that CME gap, then the job here honestly has already been done, right? What we were targeting on Sui were these invalidations. I mean, these imbalances with the idea of maybe coming up for that vector gap if Bitcoin continued to go up. But like I said, it's going to depend on Bitcoin.
Did you just call me?
Hello, Tana. $15-minute though, if we go down, you can see the structure that's building. Right. You have the possibility for a little inverse head and shoulders, or at least in the spirit of inverse head and shoulders.
Yes. Ugh. No. No.
But again, it's going to depend on Bitcoin.
Now, I know you spoke about this in the past, and the power of the head and shoulders is that, you know, you have that strong wall
Yeah.
of, you know, orders and that wick up, whatever. When I read it, you know, I seen the potential for drawing a head and shoulders. I drew it just as a fractal W because
It's
you
fine.
have
Yeah, it
that,
doesn't make it
but
any. Yeah,
that
the
wick,
W doesn't make it
that
any
wick,
less strong. Yeah.
yeah, that wick threw me off, and I counted it more as a W.
Yeah.
Because again, I now look at head and shoulders as a stronger move because of that concept of, you know, all the orders up there and the, you
1000%.
know, likeliness of the short squeeze breakout.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, in my toolbox, I consider it a stronger pattern than just a W. And again, that wick is the reason why I didn't draw it. Now, you would.
So
What's your opinion on that?
look at bodies, right? So like if you go to the 3 hour, and you're right. I'd hate inverse head and shoulders or head and shoulders that are angled, right? They're much stronger when they're straight across. But whenever you have questions about patterns, sometimes it's good to do something like go to the line chart. Right? When you go to the line chart and it gets rid of your extremities, this is why I said that's like in the spirit of, right? Sometimes things are technically perfect, and then sometimes things are in the spirit of, right? But if you look at this on the 3 hour and you look at just the actual, you know, price action, then you have a pretty clean head and shoulders. But you're right. It doesn't, the W is just as strong. Would it be a little bit stronger if it was perfect across? Yeah, because that means that you've got an order in the book that is getting pounded on, right? That eventually is going to break, and then the dam breaks. but the bullishness and the invalidation would be exactly the same. So it's like a difference without a difference, really. But if you want to be technically correct, then yeah, you want them to be perfect. That's the way to stay safe. It's the same measured move. Right? Measured move is the head or the left side of the W.
Appreciate your knowledge, brother.
Nah, you got it, bro. You're retaining it. That's the important part.
Yeah, trying. Keep making foolish mistakes myself, though, to be honest.
That's not going to change. Bro. Get used to it because I still do it. So
I want to become risk management in myself. I stay strict until I don't, and then I'll just watch something. I need to start my
what's happening when you don't? Pay attention to those moments where
I'm playing high
decide.
leverage, so I'm definitely not using the 10x shield.
Okay.
Right? And with it, my little tool bag is I get in whatever I try to, snipe great entries, and I also have practically an equal order. As soon as I snipe that, if it starts to go the other way, if I lose whatever 10%, I throw in opposite order, so I hedge. And then with that, I'll either cut it or, depending on the size, just reverse the order at a lower point, depending on how much I have in that account for the swing. But with that, I tend to fly without my stop loss in order, and I wait for all that to, get whatever my safe position, because again, it moves a little and it's a lot to be lost. So if I set a stop loss on the high leverage, whatever, I'm a degenerate on it.
So what?
But
what one thing? What one thing would change all of that? Like, what would give you more time to think, less anxiety, easier, manageable trade?
Lower leverage, but
Yeah.
I have a thing where it's like I put so much effort and study this chart and like whatever, dedicate myself to this so much, like ridiculous obsession. And there's a certain value of whatever dollars that I see worth. I'm not even going to say worth my time, because again, it's just, we'll call it scratching the itch, which really is not the case. But again, like I don't want to do all this for a little play. I'm looking to get something that's whatever substantial that I can say, all right, well, this goes back to this, my spot account or whatever, and I leave this amount in the degen play, and I want to go heavier and play a lower leverage, but the confidence ain't there to size up and play a lower leverage.
Yeah,
So,
but you also get death by 1,000 paper cuts too if you're not careful.
Oh man, I'm believing that.
That's the worst part.
Yeah, and it's messing up.
You just gotta play safe, bro. Like honestly, like I get what you're saying, right? Like you've put in a certain amount of time, and your time is worth a certain amount of money. If you're not making that money, you feel like, But what you're doing now is you're establishing something that's gonna carry you, right? So like the trading style that you're developing now is, it's like, what's the EV, right? What's the expected value? Meaning, if you take 100 trades with the same system, what's your expectation at the end, right? Are you trading a style that you could trade 100 times in a row the exact same way you traded it without blowing the account? Like building that system is going to be the foundation that later lets you degen a little more here and there, because you're protecting, you're protecting your losses on the other side.
Dude, like I'm such a student that I had this conversation with the Dbloc voice in my head saying, am I practicing, a thing that I can, do over 100 times and be a profitable trader, because on the other side I'm like flying no seatbelt.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, I am rewarding myself when when this goes through to continue to make these reckless or not right whatever high risk trades. And every time I win, which I do often, I'm like kind of, you know, trying to, you know, whatever, getting used to flying this reckless, this whatever more dangerous style of it. So
It's
it's
a vice,
creating a
right?
more of a
So
habit.
it's just like life, right? Like you've got to, if you're gonna have a vice, you got to be able to support your vice, right? That's just man shit, adult shit, human shit. Like this is what I do. I know this probably isn't the best for me, but this is what I do. I have, if I'm not gonna stop doing it, then I got to be able to support it, and that's it, right? Like some people like to gamble, or some people might feel like they need to gamble, which is fine, right? There's nothing wrong with that. Everybody does something that's not the best for them, but can you support it? And as long as you can support it, then no other person can tell you what you're doing is wrong or not wrong. It's just when you're putting too much at risk.
Not definitely putting too much at risk. And you know, I whatever 3 years ago I went full time on this, and I mean full, 18-hour a day time, if not more. I've been, you know, whatever tunnel vision on this for too long, and in the end, I definitely lost more than I made, and that's a hard truth to admit, but
It
it's fact.
shouldn't be. It's tuition, bro.
And
We all have. And how long have you been trading? How many years?
my third, really, yeah. I mean, I bought some crypto like whatever, maybe 5 years ago, but had no idea what I was doing.
Bro,
And
don't ever be
whatever.
ashamed to say that shit. 3 years in, I had lost more than I made. 100%. Not even a question.
Yeah. I mean, really started trading when we went from James Group over to here. That was
Okay.
like
Okay.
the point where like I first, because at the time it was like I'm in New York and it was hard to find an exchange that I could use leverage, and it was all that BS. So that's kind of like when I got in. I mean, before that I just did spot, which I wish I would have stayed just spot,
It's
because it
crazy how
definitely
that works, right? Like when you're trading spot, there's a million reasons to trade leverage.
the
But
grass is
whenever
always
you
greener on
look
the other side.
But whenever you look back in the past, it's
Hmm.
always the same thing. It's always like, damn, I wish I would have just held that spot.
Yeah, it's the thing, man. Grass is always greener on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
And you're looking at people like, oh, whatever. For me, it was just the access to these high leverage plays, and I'm like, oh, my spot bag is this, and if I could just throw a little juice on it, I could be rich. And again, that's the whole thing, trying to be rich. Trying to speed up the process. Definitely went reckless. I remember, dude, um, when I first got to it, right, I was like, oh, I came on, and which before that, I listened for like a year and a half, whatever, with never talking. So I was like, oh, I'm finally getting it. I caught the weekend trap just right. I threw $1,000 on 100x leverage, and printing, and you were like, yo, slow down. And I was
I
like,
remember that. That's funny.
it was euphoria.
I remember
Oh
that.
man, you were like, that is definitely not a safe practice, and you're like throwing out warnings for everyone else because I was over there gloating about it. But little did I know, you know, that was just the beginning of more of my bad habits. But it all goes down to that whole thing where you start trading, you learn to make friends, or kill your demons, because
Yeah.
you're gonna meet them.
Yep. Fact.
So I seen on the 1 minute we got manipulation X on Bitcoin. It's one, usually these things come in groups. But on my Sui play, we're bouncing off my 4-hour tread line off the bottom, which is pretty much the bottom of a bear flag. If I trying to get a read on this, whether I should jump in. Hmm.
Man, you are not alone.
You guys feel my pain?
Man, your story sounds like so many I've heard in this Discord, including my own.
Yeah.
Like when you first started talking, I was like, I know where this is going.
I've seen this episode before.
That's just a different casting.
Yeah. It's human nature, man. We all go through the same shit because we're all dealing with the same psychology, you know?
Yep. That fast forwarding thing, that's the time thing I think that I finally got that you were talking about, Dbloc. It's like, it's not really money, it's buying back your time. So leverage trading, you're like, I can get this faster,
Yeah.
meaning I don't have to spend as much time trading or whatever to get this money fast, but it just doesn't work.
Nah, because the problem is when you go upside down, it has the opposite effect. Because now you have to work overtime just to get back to where you were. So you're like adding hours of work.
You also don't feel right if like you get liquidated and then all your money's gone, and then you're like, well, now there's nothing in there, and it feels terrible because you're not exposed at all. So then you add a little more. You find $100 under the couch, and you're like, here we go, and then just it's sitting in there feels better, even if you don't have a position open. Now that feeling right there, danger.
Yeah, I can totally relate with that. And then my thing is, even if I'm not, I throw that extra money into that whatever leverage account, and then I'll sit and study the chart and whatever. Again, I call it practice, so it's whatever, less obsessed. But I sit and I wait for I'm looking for an A+ setup, because I got to make it back, or at least this one's going to be different. Again, I try not to.
You know what's crazy
Sometimes
is that
it's
That trade is
you
gone, bro. Best thing you could do is
yeah.
absolutely forget about that trade.
Yeah, you're forcing it to happen because you're sitting there ready. But that's not how it works. You know it when you see it. You know a flash sale when you see it. And
well,
then
You're
that's
taking the
that,
demons from your ex-girlfriend into your new relationship.
well, more it's like I'm practicing, safe whatever. I was gonna say safe sex, but whatever. I'm practicing, good risk management, right? Maybe a little too tight, and so I get in and I'm like, all right, whatever, stop
what?
the entry. This is whatever high leverage play. Stop the entry, and I get wicked, or even worse, I don't get wicked, and I still get kicked out of the position, which is
Yeah.
infuriating to me, which happens too often.
Yeah, I hate
And
getting
I'm like, you know what? Bang, I'm right back in, because again, shouldn't
Revenge.
have happened. My play was good. And, I'll catch two of those and then I'll be like, oh, I missed it, whatever. And then it does what I was expecting. And then I'm like, all right, you know what? I'm just going to put a little more spread in it. Right. So the 1 ATR, all right. But that's, it's a lot because I'm playing high leverage. So I'm like, all right, this has to be a good play, and then whatever, I'll do that, and then it'll hit that, and whatever, I'll be wrong on it. And then I'll be like, that's it, back to my hedge strategy, and then I'll play that, and
Flipping is, yeah, listen, flipping is a big one. Flipping is a big one. Look, we're going to do the next book report we're going to do is going to be thinking in bets because it speaks about quantitative edge. What's important about a system is understanding the actual edge that it has, right? Meaning percentage. If you've got a system that's 65%, 70%, right? You can't take a loss in that system and switch because you're resetting. You know what I mean? When I lose, I look at it like, okay, I know my win percentage. That's one loss out of the way, right? But it doesn't mean the next one's going to be a win. Let me jump in, right? Chill. Why did I lose? What happened? Is it one of my rules? If it's not one of my rules, then it needs to become one of my rules. If it is one of my rules, then I definitely can't trade until I figure out why I broke it. And in that time, in that thinking, it lets that lizard brain, that monkey brain calm down, where you're reacting just off of flight or fight, right? Oh, this happened. Boom, I'm going to fix it. I'm going to do this. Boom, I'm going to do that. So you have to figure out exactly what went wrong, why it went wrong, and take a breath. And then you wait for another setup. It has nothing to do with the last trade. It's like breaking up with a girl and then now you're out on the town and you're like, yo, the first girl that winks at me, I'm gonna make that wifey. I'm not making the same mistakes I made on the last one. The difference is this a whole different girl. Right? So it's not the same environment, it's not the same volume, it's not the same volume profile, it's not the same aggressive buyers. Everything is different. So you don't forget what you learned. You learned it and you added it to your book. It's in your book now. When I'm in this situation again, I will not do this. Or you figured out why you broke it, and then when I'm feeling like this, I was hungry as shit and I just ignored my rules. I just got in a fight with my girl, so I ignored my rules. I was feeling euphoric, so whatever. That goes in your book too. All right. Well, when you're euphoric, you don't trade. When you get in a fight with your girl, you don't trade. When you're hungry, you don't trade. And eventually what happens is that book itself becomes the store of knowledge and lessons you've learned, right? You don't have to prove it in the next trade.
My problem is that book is so thick. You know, short people can sit on it to drive a car. There's so
Not
many
gonna lie,
reasons I don't think I should even trade.
mine's just kind of big too. But honestly, if you sit and look at it, you can probably boil some of those down into one thing, right? If you like look at like go to first principles and say, okay, over aggression, I can probably put like 4 or 5 of these rules, into like an over aggression rule, or amount of time after I take a loss. Right? You look at how many mistakes you make in that short period of time after a loss that you shouldn't be trading. And then just by cutting that short period of time off and giving yourself like a buffer, right? Then all of those rules sort of fall into that. But it's a lifelong thing, man. Definitely.
Either way, keep up the good work, man. You definitely you give a lot of good, strong facts. You know, there's no BS sensor that goes off like most of the other people on YouTube or whatever. These people teaching lessons or strategies. You're a unique, real dude.
I
Appreciate
appreciate
you,
it.
bro.
No, I appreciate it. I mean, I'm on here too much to be fake. I don't have the energy for it. So all I can do is tell you what I've done to keep me able to trade for another day for this long. Might not work for everybody. And it's definitely not the only way to trade, y'all. I don't ever want to come off like, oh, I know the way to trade and every other way. This is just what works for me. This is what works for me and my monkey brain to make sense of how the market moves and how to take advantage of it. Right? There's millions of other strategies and there's millions of other profitable traders that I've never even heard of the market maker before.
Yeah, but the fact that you stick to no leverage, like all the principles that you speak of are like the safest
Yeah.
way of going about it, where you'll watch other people and whatever they make risky look easy. You like whatever. Either way, you set a good tone for people getting in. I wish there was a way that we can make that be more. Again, not that it's not appealing, but as appealing as high leverage is, to somehow like from the people that went the way that most people do, which is you go high leverage and then you get smoke and then you go, oh, I just want to play spot, with a larger bag. It again, Wish that would have set in that, and you're de-risking when you said I'm de-risking. I wish I would have took that serious too.
Yeah.
Certain things I wish we could put some exclamation points behind and have it mean the same to everyone.
You're gonna have to go through some of the shit. Like you said, like, you know, you're a touch the stove type of guy. I can tell I am. Like, I know my people when I see my people. And you can warn me till you're blue in the face, but until I actually feel that heat, it's not, you know what I mean? And there's nothing wrong with that because those rules become cemented even harder. Like, those rules will live with you forever. Me warning you that 1010 is possible versus you going through 1010, completely different. You know what I mean?
Definitely. I wasn't.
You know where I was during 1010? I was
In
the
a
bathroom.
corner crying.
No. No. You were in the kitchen making me dinner, and I was on the toilet reading the newspaper, feeling free, feeling good.
Until you looked at the
I
port.
remember that was.
No, I had nothing in the port.
Oh, that's
We had
fine.
to hear that.
Yep.
Oh God. Well, I'll give you props for actually admitting it.
Yeah, I was nowhere. I had no position, and I just got lucky because I
I'll be
was
right back.
still leverage trading back then. So definitely.
I felt so bad because I actually made money during it, and I've never said that because everybody's lost so much money, and I had de-risked, and I saw what was happening and just jumped in and actually ended up, before all the exchanges went down, making a dang good trade and got out.
Oh.
I know that sounds terrible. I don't even feel good about it. I mean, my account felt good, but I didn't ever want to say anything because everybody got so
You shorted
damaged
or
that day. I
shorted something?
shorted it. Heck yes.
Oh yeah.
I know.
Yeah, that'll happen.
Yeah, I actually made pretty good on it too. I caught Suey coming off the bottom. I think I got in at like 90 cents, and then it went up to like 160, I believe, on the bounce. But it was all because of BJ, because BJ, like 4 days before, she was like, I don't know, no one wants to hear this, but I think Dogecoin can go down to 8 cents. It's just what I'm saying, whatever, right? And I had a Dogecoin spot position, so I put a stop at like whatever 16 cents or whatever it was. And then when that whole thing happened, I was like, oh, my Dogecoin got hit, so I just had some free money in the account or whatever. And then I was watching, and we had that crazy bottom. And I was swinging on a lot of exchanges were acting up, and just so happened Robinhood didn't that time. And I caught a pretty good play on it. But yeah, I when BJ said it, I was like in my mind, I'm like, I don't see this happening, 8 cents, whatever. But I set a stop loss just in case, and yeah, I mean, it would have been better if I got out much higher, which I could have.
I wasn't actually on the toilet. I was in front of my computer in the charts, and I just remember watching Sui go blue, 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 flushing down the toilet. I was like, what happened on Discord? What is this? What is it doing? A lot of emotion, and then Dbloc's over there going, guys. But yeah, I'm doing spot this year. Maybe a little leverage, but nowhere near what I was doing. Hey, to that guy that was just talking, I'm sorry I don't know your name, but have you ever heard of that song that's like, yeah, whatever. And it's like the whole lyrics is him saying like, and this is my United States of whatever.
It's Chris, and are you talking about whatever, man?
No, it's a song by Liam Winch. It's called United States of whatever.
No, I thought you were talking about Red Man, whatever, man. But no, I never heard it. Leanne, what?
Liam Winch. I think it's Liam, and then Lynch, Lynch. Liam Lynch, United States of whatever. Anyway, you remind me of that song.
Thanks. I'll check it out.
All right, I'm back, y'all. Got to get into production mode here in a second. That W is invalidated. Let's check our fibs. Bull's last stand. See how the shorts are behaving. Bears chose violence. Pass golden pocket. Stopping volume candle, very little volume, interestingly enough.
Dude, when reading volume, I get it. We're looking to see buyers stepping in, right? But I know not so much to count the color of the candle, but it's like you'll see like absorption, or it'll be coming up, and depending if it hits a zero marker, it will flip colors. But sometimes I misread the whatever the bullishness or bearishness or whatever the volume coming in on whether because again it will the body candle will go up, and I'll think that this is pressure on the up, which obviously it is, but only to come back down. And I'm watching the 5 minute and the 1 minute, so it's not like it's vector reclamation on the 5, which whatever on the 1. I mean, when you're watching the 5, I can see that dance where it'll go up and then come back down, whatever. But yeah, any advice on being able to read that better?
Yeah, I mean, I don't, the colors are there obviously to let you know how the candle closed, is all it tells you, right? But the volume itself lets you know if people were in or not. Like, so look at this dip, right? So price starts to drop, but volume as price is dropping is increasing, right? Which means that Bitcoin's finding buyers at that level, and then price goes up a bit, right? But price starts to go up on decreasing volume if we go down to like the 15-second. So then price starts to drop again. But as price drops, we see volume go up, which means, like here, this drop, ever since this drop started, volume's been increasing, right? Which means that you were finding buyers on the way down. So an increased volume spike during a red drop doesn't mean that there's lots of sellers. It means that it's triggering buys on the way down, right? A drop like this on decreasing volume lets you know you're not finding any buyers. Price is just going to continue to drop until it finds buyers. Remember, price is constantly seeking somebody to buy. Right? So if price is coming down and volume is going down, then price hasn't found those buyers yet. You'll know price found the buyers when volume starts to go up as price is coming down.
I think something that's throwing me off is from watching the tape, you'll see like a large order and it will take a certain amount of minutes for it to, whatever, if the $10 million buy comes in or whatever, and it will take a certain period of time to fill. So that kind of throws, I believe, my view off on like, all right, yeah, a little volume here, but that could just be one buy over here and it's just filling.
Yeah, it's got to sustain itself. Like this volume isn't
And
sustaining itself, right? Price went up, it found buyers, but this move up is volume divergent.
I guess that's another thing. I'm in between time frames so much.
Yeah,
It's on the
yeah,
2 minute, it's like it reads like this, and then on the 5 minute, like it'll read different.
Just depends on how much definition you want. You don't have to trade on the 1 minute to watch the price on the 1 minute.
Well, pretty much I would consider myself like trader on the 5, but I'm looking for confluence on the 1. Like
Yeah.
I want to see the volume cancel
You're
start
looking
there.
into the future.
Oh yeah, or at least. Uh, yeah, I guess that.
You
We'll
know what I
go with
mean?
that.
Like you could wait for that 5 minute candle to
And I'm
close, or you can peek into the future a little bit and see how the 1 minute is forming out.
yeah.
The bulls are trying here, but they're failing miserably. That 50 EMA is a rock. Good night, H. All right, everybody, get ready for fun time. Got so much planned tonight. I'm kidding. Go to sleep. Oh, ye of little faith. The bullish channel already played out. I didn't bother doing the measured move because it's smaller than the other one. And this isn't a bull flag because the flag went too long. Right? Flag is too long compared to the pole. So you can only count the actual bearish channel for the measured move. Now, whether it holds the breakout and gives us the full measured move for the W depends on if it gets over these EMAs. Nah, Dev gets emotional at every green candle or red candle that goes the opposite direction than he thought it was going to go. So you'd be looking for type 4 entries here if you can hold the breakout. Type 1 traders are in, type 2 traders are in, type 3 traders are in, type 4 traders are waiting. Type 5 traders won't get bullish until we're almost at daily open.
You still there, Dbloc?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, your mic's bleeding through.
Oh, okay. Well done. Like 5 traders are looking at the chart right now and going, it looks like a good place to long.
Don't let your vacation rent.
I'll be damned. Play a commercial. Trying to find this clip. I wonder if they'll flag me if I play the whole thing. Probably not if I turn my cam on. Give me a second. All right, I found it. It's my favorite scene from this whole movie. It's from The Big Short, right? This is after he's completely upside down, 1 week away from blowing the entire bag. All the company's money is at risk. And for me, the lesson that I learned from this particularly is that being early and being wrong are exactly the same. But this is such a good clip.
I just know how to read numbers.
How big's your short position right now?
Just
How big's your short position right now, High Def?
well, we pay
Right now.
just 1.3 billion.
And the premiums?
Well, we pay roughly 80 to 90 million each year, which is high. But I was the
Jesus.
first to do this trade. Watch, it will pay. I may have been early, but I'm not wrong.
It's the same thing. It's the same thing, Mike.
You're managing a fund of...
Been early, but I'm not wrong.
It's the same thing. It's the same thing, Mike.
Watch, it will pay. I may have been early, but I'm not wrong.
It's the same thing. It's the same thing, Mike.
You can end the scene right there. Being early is the same as being wrong. He said, I want my money, Mike. Gets a little not family friendly after that. Nah, that's a good movie, though. I would definitely watch movies with y'all in the Discord, but y'all would absolutely hate me. I'm a talker, man. I talk to the movies. Even if you've seen that movie before, you need to watch it again after you've been trading for a while. It's a completely different movie. Why not? Let's leave it. My position hopes we don't, but my other positions would would enjoy that quite a bit. I think it goes. I mean, if we just take everything else off the table, right? You had an accumulation with a sweep and a spring. It should pop out. But resistance is resistance until it's not, so. Nobody puts Bitcoin in a box. Hmm. Remember, we're watching our rotation to see what it goes into. Remember what we talked about yesterday? I said if the rotation is defensive, well, start the other way first. I said if the rotation is euphoric, then you'll see ES go up and you'll see Bitcoin go up. Right? If it's defensive, you'll see ES go up and gold go up. The only difference is if it's euphoric, ES makes a new high. Right? If it's defensive, ES puts in a lower high. And then silver gets the bid. Yeah, I hate to break it to you, High Def, but you don't get to own the I think Bitcoin's going down TA when we've been saying it since October 11th or October 9th. Problem is you keep thinking it's going down right now. That's the only problem. I don't think anybody disagrees on you about us being in a bear market. So too early to tell, but the early signs show it being a defensive rotation. Still too early to tell. Literally just one day, and the day's not even over yet. So basically what I was saying, Damien, is we're getting a rotation because of liquidity. Right? Our global liquidity here. I'll run through it real quick. This yellow line right here is our global liquidity. Right? It tracks the TGA, reverse repo, all the central banks, all the M2s. Right? So we watch to see whether we're contracting or we're expanding on global. During this contraction that we had here, let me get rid of all this other shit for a second. Hold on. So during this current drop, we've got them marked out. Our expansions in green, our drops in red, and it's set on a 100-day offset, right? Because the velocity of money right now is at about 100 days, meaning from the day that the central bank prints, if the money enters the system, it takes about 100 days to get into people's wallets where they can actually spend it, right? So that downturn that we had on global liquidity gave us this turn down. We're supposed to be turning up now, right? We get an expansion that comes all the way until the 23rd. But the argument was, since global liquidity affects everybody, remember, just because global liquidity is going up doesn't mean it's going into the asset you're holding, right? Here, it went up and it went into Bitcoin, right? But here, it was going up and we were selling off, right? So what we were saying was, is this a euphoric? Is this a euphoric retracement or a defensive one? Hold on, where did all that shit go? All right. So now we've matched back up. Give me a second. I'm screwed it all up by doing all that. Right. So our main question was, where does this go? Right. It's obviously come out of Bitcoin. It's come out of ES. It's come out of, but this move up, is it going to go into legacy? Does it go into metals? Does it go into Bitcoin? Right. We know it's going up, but where does it go? So my argument was, there's two different types of rotations. If it's a euphoric rotation, it'll come back into ES and it'll seek more risk, right? Meaning it'll go to like, you'll see Bitcoin move as well. It'll go to risk assets. If it's defensive, then some of it will go back into ES because we're still euphoric, right? But I would expect ES to put in a lower high, and then I would expect to see money go into gold as the defense play. So we don't know how the market's going to take this first retracement yet. So I'm watching this to get a bit of a heads up, you know? Is money seeking safety or is money seeking risk? But right now, by the looks of it, because if it's defensive, I would expect ES and and metals. By the looks of it, it looks defensive, but it's still early. Way too early. Remember, the reason we're watching this on the 1 minute is because we're babysitting the we're babysitting the right side of this W. Right? Are we going to continue come into these liquidations, grab that CME gap? So instead of just sitting here waiting for the 15-minute candle, we figure it's a good teachable moment and we can just track momentum from the 1 minute. You're looking for this W to fractal now into the 5 minute. This W played out. If you draw your fibs from the bottom of your W, right? And if this is going to fractal into a W on the 5 minute, then you're going to want to see it hold between your 382 and your golden pocket. Go to the 5 now. Right? Or even the 15. On the 15, that whole W and measured move was just a V-shaped recovery. We can get rid of this now. Yeah, we should get a little volatility as algos reset. First 15 minutes of daily open usually mean nothing. You got a lot of algos resetting. You got a lot of hello stopping volume candle on the type 2 of 15. Can they hold it though? Remember, you invalidate as soon as you close the next body of the next candle underneath that body. I don't like any of this, honestly. My stop loss will do its job if the time comes, but My bad. Gemini is trying to keep you guys from watching the sweep.